I love Giallo, the wicked godfather of the American slasher film. Born from those yellow-spined pulp paperbacks full of mysterious killers, voyeurism, and twisty whodunits, the genre started with Mario Bava in the early to mid-1960s. Then Dario Argento came along, and eventually Lucio Fulci, and by the 1970s, the genre found its cinematic voice and absolutely exploded in Italy. If you like hyper-violence, eroticism, and that dreamlike stylish brutality in your Killer on the Loose movies, you weren't really finding it in American proto-slashers in the 1970s, unless you dipped your toes into some grindhouse movies. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, and Halloween are all intentionally restrained in that area. Meanwhile, Italy was going full throttle. Giallo was influencing filmmakers across the globe, and by the 80s, the American slasher film as we know it was born. I love the style, I love the influence, I love the audacity of Giallo. Even though I'll be the first to admit I still have some blind spots within the classics. And while I could easily sit down and review monumental films like Don't Torture a Duckling or The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, sometimes I want to dig into something more obscure. Something people aren't constantly talking about. And that's when I saw Francesca sitting on my shelf. This movie looks like some lost 1970s deep cut. The colors, the gloves, the killer POV. This thing looked like it crawled out of an Argento box set. But here's the catch. It was made in 2015. Yeah, a modern Giallo in a genre that was pretty much dead by the mid-80s. Now, the Giallo revival is small, but it exists under the label Neo-Giallo. Enter Luciano Onetti, the director of Francesca, Abracadabra, and some other Neo-Giallo flicks. A filmmaker known for his retro obsession with Giallo cinema and often labeled as one of the pioneers of the Neo-Giallo movement. But of course, this raises a big question. Does Giallo even work with modern perspective? Or is this one of those cases where the style just doesn't translate outside of its own era? There's only one way to find out. Let's watch that movie. Francesca opens with a creepy, off-kilter rendition of Ferrer Shaka, sung by a child while the mother rocks her baby. It's unsettling right out of the gate, and then that goblin-inspired soundtrack kicks in. And honestly, I love the music. It immediately tells you what kind of movie this wants to be. Now, I hate being that guy, but I do need to address something right away. This was shot on digital. And yes, they clearly put effort into it. There's film grain added, the colors are pushed to emulate the Technicolor look at the time with bright reds, muted blues, high contrast. In still frames, it actually looks pretty solid. But in motion, it doesn't feel like film, and therefore doesn't feel like a 1970s Giallo. There's just something about it that looks a little too clean, a little too slick, and sometimes even a little funky. Now, it's not terrible, but if you're trying to recreate 70s Italian cinema, digital is a tough hill to climb. Alright, back to the story. We get this demented little girl poking at a dead bird, and out of nowhere, she stabs a baby in the eye. Yeah, and look, I get what they're going for. Shock, transgression, that classic Giallo, did they really just do that moment? But it's very clearly a baby doll, and the effect is, not great. Not even like a little. They're not fooling anyone. And at this point, while I'm watching the movie, I'm already second guessing my life choices. Alright, like it's starting off rough. Do I even want to finish the movie? Is it worth reviewing? But if I'm gonna suffer through it, so are you. So, enjoy. Then we cut to our adult killer. Red leather gloves, piano keys, and just like that, this poor girl with a taped mouth is murdered. Silver dollars are placed over her eyes, And I guess we're in full Giallo territory now. We cut to detectives investigating the scene. Apparently, a woman in red dropped off the body. Meanwhile, we learn that a young girl named Francesca has been missing for 15 years, and the police start to suspect that these cases might be connected. When the detectives visit Francesca's family, we get the backstory. The father was reading a Giallo mystery novel one day, nice touch, when a masked assailant stabbed him in the back, leaving the dad paralyzed. And that masked assailant kidnapped Francesca. So now we're set up with that central mystery. Who is behind the disappearance of Francesca? Are they connected to the murders? And how many twists are in store if you check out this one? Find out in Francesca. So, yeah, that was Francesca. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie here. I wasn't super impressed. There are elements and plot points here that are clearly inspired by some of my favorite gialli, but I had a hard time staying fully engaged throughout the movie. The pacing drops in spots, and a lot of the mystery felt pretty predictable. That said, there is a nice little Friday the 13th styled surprise at the end that I actually enjoyed. It doesn't completely save the movie for me, but it did at least give me something to smile about. My biggest complaint, and I keep coming back to this, is that I really wish this had been shot on film. And I know, it's really expensive, and I know that this is a low-budget movie. I also know that Abracadabra had the same issue, but digital just pulls me out of it. For a genre that is so heavily based on texture, atmosphere, and visual seduction, it matters. To me, a good gialli screams style. They are beautiful films full of vibrant colors, interesting architecture, and an overall aesthetic that screams deliberate visual enticement through manipulation of the camera and atmosphere. While Francesca tries to emulate that style, and at times succeeds, most of the time it feels by the book and comes across as bland. Some say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but in this case, it feels like imitation is just a cheap knockoff from someone who lacks the vision and visual fidelity to truly capture the full intent. While not a bad film and a decent effort considering the low budget and relative callousness of the director, I just couldn't really enjoy Francesca. It's very middling. Now, I enjoy the style that they're going for, and I appreciate that it's a love letter to a genre that I love. However, it's all the things that you've seen before, but in a much worse package. It's like someone wearing designer clothes, but it doesn't fit and it looks nothing like how it does on the models in the ads. It's like someone trying to recreate a classic painting, but just from their memory. So, in conclusion, if you're looking for a good Neo-Giallo, there are much stronger options out there. Don't let Francesca scare you away from the subgenre though. There are some truly stylish, visionary modern gialli that understand not just the look, but the soul of what makes these films special. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. And stay spooky, everyone.